I guess you might say I'm a lucky man. My name is Paul, and I have a runner's body which has stayed with me since college. That's how I got to college in the first place. I was good at running the hurdles and even better at the sprint races. If it was a mile or less, I was your man. At least I was good enough to get an athletic scholarship. I even got to try out for the Olympics, but I was 0.04 seconds too slow. I didn't have a specific major because I had no special interest, so I settled for a general studies degree. While that was going on, I received a master's degree in education. I had the looks to go with my body, and I took full advantage of it. Girls were easy and most of them were excellent teachers in the art of making love. I learned more about during those 4 years than most men learn in a lifetime. I got lucky after graduation and was offered a job by an electrical wholesale company. The main office and warehouse was in Central City. We had 4 satellite warehouse outlets in each of the 4 directions, about 4 hours away by car. They were North City, South City, East City, and West City, as my boss liked to call them. Part of my job was to visit each satellite store every 4th week. The owner believed in hands-on supervision and wouldn't let me use the computer or the telephone as a substitute for face-to-face meetings. I would leave early every Thursday morning for one of our stores, arrive about noon, review their inventory, and check on any problems they might have. I would stay overnight at a good motel or hotel, check back in with the store for a couple of hours Friday morning, and then drive home. The boss provided me with a nice car, and he didn't complain about my expense account. I met Gail at our first company picnic. She was attending a family reunion that was holding a picnic at the same park. She was beautiful. No, she was more than beautiful, she was exquisite. You could see her in a bikini at the swimming pool and still be suffering from wet dreams about her a week later. We introduced ourselves and sat on a bench to talk. Well, I think she was interested in talking. I was interested in something else, but not in public. We talked for about 30 minutes, and I realized 2 things. She had the most desirable body I had ever seen. Her fine blonde hair was done up in a ponytail and it went down to well below her shoulder blades. That was the problem, she was blonde. The creators of every blonde joke ever told or written must have had her in mind. No wonder she was 23 years old and still single. As far as I could tell, she didn't even have a boyfriend. I was only a year older than her but light years ahead of her on the intelligence meter. We exchanged phone numbers, and I called her the next day. We made a date for the next Friday night, but that turned out to be a complete waste of time for me. I took her to a nice place to eat, and we danced afterward. Actually, she was light years ahead of me when it came to dancing. Rule number 1 was that you don't look like you're making love when on the dance floor. We could keep an inch or so between us, or we could sit down. I found out about rule number 2 when I took her home. I got a kiss on the cheek, but I didn't get invited in. Okay, there was always date number 2. Date number 2 was exactly the same as date number 1. Date numbers 3, 4, and 5 ended the same way. Back in college, I always scored by the second date. Considering I wasn't getting anywhere with her, I started teasing her. What the hell, why not? I would be moving on before long anyway. She was so dumb that she would laugh right along with me, never realizing that I was making fun of her. Dumb blonde. We dated a few more times, and I continued to make fun of her. She never knew the difference. Of course, I never saw the inside of her apartment either. By the time I decided to move on, it was too late. I had become obsessed with her. I wanted what I couldn't have. I had never been turned down like this before. I made up my mind that I wouldn't give up until I had her. Marriage was no problem. There was always divorce if it didn't work out. She was AV, something I had never experienced before. Out of the numerous women I had enjoyed, that simple pleasure had escaped me. If I had to marry her to claim her V, fine. Her complete lack of experience would definitely work to my advantage. It would be fun teaching her. I wouldn't have to worry about her comparing me to some former lover. Marriage seemed like the best way to get exactly what I wanted. I had heard that a girl became totally devoted to the man that took her cherry. That, plus her marriage vows, would make her mine and mine alone. That's what I wanted, complete loyalty. Was I in love? I doubt it. Besides, love is for romantics and fools. I did want her though. She would probably loosen up once we were engaged. I reserved a table at the very best restaurant in town for our next date, and we had a perfect candlelight dinner. She accepted the engagement ring with a close hug and an intimate kiss. That got me through the front door and all the way to the couch. We were sitting close, and I started to put my hand down her blouse. We hadn't set a date to get married. I was thinking along the lines of a year or so, but when she said that, I moved the timetable up to as soon as possible. We compromised on 2 months. She wanted a nice church wedding, and it would take that long to make all of the arrangements. As for the honeymoon, well, I'm not sure that there are enough descriptive words of the right kind to properly describe it. Heavenly bliss is as close as I can come. Yes, she was AV, and she was as dumb about S as the proverbial doornail. That didn't slow her down one bit. She was a very fast, energetic learner. The instant she said I do, all, and I do mean all of the barriers came down. The only place she drew the line was about, well you know. She had heard about it and decided against it long before she met me. Although I had tried it with other girls, I agreed with her. We went out dancing the second night and she was crawling all over me. She felt me hesitate and whispered that we were married now and we would damn well dance any way we wanted to. Things continued to go well after our honeymoon. We found a nice 3-bedroom house at the end of a dead-end road. It was kind of isolated, but we liked that. I made enough money that she didn't have to work if she didn't want to. She had been doing a little bit of freelance writing before we were married, and she wanted to pursue it. She already had a small business account set up that had a few $100s in it. That was fine with me. That meant she would be home every evening when I got off from work, and we could continue to explore each other in detail. The first thing she did was to buy the best PC available, along with a scanner and color laser jet printer. She set up an office in one of the spare bedrooms. Well, I called it an office. She called it her inspirational creativity room. The second thing to go into the room was a fancy surround sound stereo system. She then bought a lot of CDs with stupid names like Tchaikovsky and Bach. She called these things her creative audio ambience. Dumb blonde. That brings me to my problem. I married a dumb blonde. I will say one thing though, she has never turned me down in bed. If anything, she will initiate S if I don't. The problem is, she has been initiating S with at least 4 other guys for the past 5 weeks that I know about. 3 years of a perfect marriage and then it goes to hell. Dumb blonde. I must say that I have made it easy for her. I leave home every Thursday morning and don't get back until late Friday afternoon. That gives her a lot of time to F around every week with little chance of getting caught. Anyhow, that's probably what she thought. Dumb blonde. I took her to the adult toy store not long after we were married and we selected several different kinds that we thought she might like. I figured she would play with those if she got horny while I was gone. I think she did that until about 5 or 6 weeks ago. Then she had to go and find several Real Live D to play with. Dumb blonde. I found out about her games by accident. Gail and her date went into a bar that is owned by a close friend of mine. She was there on a Thursday evening, and I knew about it within minutes. After all, what are close friends and cell phones for? My friend didn't see anything bad going on, but Gail and her companion did sit rather close together. They were there for about an hour and then left holding hands. Dumb blonde. To say that I was surprised would be a gross understatement. I just couldn't, or at least I wouldn't, believe that she would cheat on me. Our life was good and she was always telling me how much she loved me. We were even thinking about her going off of her birth control pills and starting a family. Well, at least we didn't have to worry about kids, and I knew that she was still on her pills this month. She always took them the first thing every morning, and I was usually in the bathroom when she did. I hurried through my work Friday morning and returned home by early afternoon. I went to the bar and talked to my friend. I got a blow-by-blow account of exactly what happened. They didn't do any kissing, and their hands remained above the table all while they were there. It didn't seem too bad, but my friend thought I should do some serious investigation to be sure that nothing was going on. Being a bar owner, my friend knew exactly who to call. His name was Max Cook and his card was tacked to the corkboard at the end of the bar. Yep, he was the guy to go to all right. He was the only detective agency in town that took on cheating spouse cases. I called Max and he said he wasn't busy and to come on by. Max had a nice office. He greeted me warmly, and I explained my suspicions. He said he was working on another case right now, but it should be all wrapped up by Tuesday of next week. I wasn't going to need him before Thursday, so it looked like everything was going to work out fine. I made arrangements to leave a picture of Gail along with a description and the license number of her car with his secretary Monday morning. Things continued to go very well at home, and Gail about wore me out in bed. I left bright and early Thursday morning. I didn't get an hour's sleep that night because I was worried about what Max would find out. All of my worries and lack of sleep paid off. I met with Max late Friday afternoon, and he had bad news. Some guy arrived at my house about noon Thursday. He and Gail left about 6 to go eat and returned about 9. He didn't leave our home until noon the next day. Max had some nice pictures he took with a zoom lens. I recognized the bastard immediately. It was Adam, one of her friends from church. He was a deacon and was supposed to be happily married. Well, I had her now. Dumb blonde. Max thought we should get some audio or video recordings of them doing the dirty. I knew that Gail would be visiting her parents Sunday afternoon, so I told him to come by about 2 o'clock. Gail tried to F my brains out all weekend. I couldn't say no to sleeping with her because I didn't want to make her suspicious, but I wasn't about to make love with her. That's when I decided to be too tired or to have a headache. If she could pretend that she wasn't another man, then even though I didn't want to, so could I, dumb blonde. Gail left at 1:30 and Max arrived at 2 o'clock. He hid several cameras around the house, and we hid the recorders in the attic. It took less than 3 hours. Max left about 5, and Gail got home about 6. It worked out perfectly. Dumb blonde. Adam didn't show up next Thursday. It was Brian. It was almost too much to take. Brian was our insurance agent. He was supposed to be happily married, too. Max and I talked it over and we decided to keep watching and see if anyone else was involved. Gail continued to demand that I let her try to F my brains out, and I continued to have headaches. Considering whom she had been F so far, I figured I was reasonably safe from STDs, but she was F someone else now, and I wasn't going to have anything to do with her. Dumb blonde. I left the next Thursday wondering who the lucky bastard was going to be that night. Last week's videos were good, too good in fact. They used the couch, the kitchen table, the weight bench in the basement, and the spare bedroom. The weight bench was a surprise. I hadn't F'd her there yet, but only because I hadn't thought of it. Dumb blonde. Max didn't disappoint me Friday afternoon. Craig sure did though. He showed up right on time at noon Thursday. This bastard managed the gun club where we shot. Gail liked to shoot her 22 and 9mm. I liked to shoot my 40 S&W and 45 Colt Auto. This was the son of a B that gave her shooting lessons, and now she was giving him F lessons. The living room tape showed her sitting on the edge of the couch teaching him. I guess that's what she was doing because she kept giving him directions. Craig was younger than us and had only been married for about 6 months. That was a marriage that wouldn't last long. Dumb blonde. She wanted to make love that night, but I rolled over and went to sleep. Max and I had enough evidence now that I didn't have to pretend any longer. I wouldn't be F her again for the rest of her life. I was ready to hunt up a lawyer and start divorce proceedings. Max talked me out of it for a week or so. He thought I should wait and see just how many men she was with. As he put it, the more evidence we had, the larger the percentage of our property that would be mine in the settlement. Dumb blonde. I never touched her all week and she was starting to look really frustrated. I'd have been willing to bet that whoever walked through the door at noon Thursday would be our before the door was all of the way closed. Horny dumb blonde. I wasn't wrong. Dan was on time. This was her hairdresser. I knew the bastard was married, but I always thought he liked men. She met him naked and dragged him to the couch. She was laying back, both hands gripping his head, and screaming for him. Max busted out laughing. When he was able to talk, he pointed out the length of Danny Boy's tongue. Damn, how was he able to keep all of that in his mouth? He had the longest tongue I had ever seen. That got another burst of laughter from Max. He saw size of something else. Max was just about on the floor by now. After they finished, Gail helped him onto the couch. We agreed to wait 1 more week to see who else would show up. At this point I wouldn't have been surprised if Saint Nick himself would have parked his sleigh on the roof and slid down the chimney. He might as well get his share, because everyone else was. Dumb blonde. I didn't touch her all week, and I wouldn't let her seduce me. By the time Thursday morning arrived, she was so that her eyes were blazing. I think she had burned the motors out of all toys by Wednesday evening. Dumb blonde. I left with a smile because if everything went right, I would confront her Friday evening and move her out of the house Saturday. I had it all set up for divorce papers to be delivered the first thing Saturday morning. Max agreed to get there right after the papers were delivered. I figured that I had better have him there to be sure she didn't try to do something stupid. He would be a good witness for me. Dumb blonde. My boss had mentioned that he was going to replace the manager at the East store and wanted to know if I was interested in the job. It would be a nice increase in salary for me, but I would have to move to that town. I had told Gail about it just before this mess started, and she had seemed interested. Considering whom all she had been F, I had no desire to remain here. The only thing was I would be going by myself. I wasn't about to take her with me now. Dumb blonde. Max had everything ready for me when I arrived at his office late Friday afternoon. It was Adam, the self-righteous deacon again. We got some good video this time. The only place they didn't F or S was in the master bedroom. They went at it like 2 rabbits on speed. Dumb blonde. Max made 3 good pictures off of each one of the tapes and put them in an envelope for me. He arranged them in the exact order that I wanted. I was ready to confront her now, and I was a happy camper when I walked through the front door. She caught me before I got to the kitchen. Smiling brightly and with a gleam in her eye. "Hi honey. Welcome home. Wanna get with me?" she said as she tried to throw her arms around me. Damn. She's been F Adam's brains out, what there were of them, for 2 days, and she still wants more. I wondered if it was possible for her to ever get enough? No, thanks. I do think we need to talk, though. Come on into the kitchen. I managed to disengage from her and led her to the kitchen table. I must say that she had a nice dress on. It came almost down to her knees and the top was so tight that it was obvious she didn't have underwear on. I was even a gentleman and seated her at one side of the table. I sat down on the other side and started talking. Gail, our marriage is in trouble. As a matter of fact, I think it's over. However, I'm going to give you a chance to explain. Would you please tell me why you are having an affair with Adam? I placed the first 3 pictures on the table in front of her. Her eyes brightened up as she carefully studied each picture. That was yesterday afternoon and again this morning. We had a real good time, dear. His face twisted up in the cutest way. He's really pretty good, once I taught him a few things, but I think you're better. Damn. I'm asking for an explanation and all she's doing is bragging about it. I knew she was dumb, but damn. She surely can't be that dumb, can she? Damn it, Gail. You're married. To me. You aren't supposed to be other men. Really? I didn't think you would mind. It was just honey. It didn't mean anything. We were just having a little fun. It's you that I love? I don't understand, Gail. If you love me, why were you him? Well, we were talking at the church picnic, and the subject of our spouses came up. Did you know that until he and I got together, he had only done it in one style? His wife is so hung up about that she thinks you should only do it if you want to make a baby. They don't even sleep in the same bed. They have twin beds. I felt real sorry for him, so I invited him over. I didn't think you would mind, honey. It was only it. You mean to tell me that the only reason you him is because you felt sorry for him? Of course, dear, what other reason would I have? He's a friend, but it's you that I love. All I did was show him what it felt like to in a whole bunch of different positions. It ended up feeling good for both of us. What's wrong with that? You were out of town, so you didn't miss out on anything. I was horny, you were gone, and he was curious. I think it all worked out real well. I didn't know what to say. There weren't any courses on dumb blondes in college, at least none that I knew about. All I could do was sit there and look at her. She was sitting there looking at the pictures. Dumb blonde. Maybe if I moved on. What about Brian? I said as I laid 3 more pictures on the table. Her eyes brightened up again and the corners of her mouth turned up into a wishful smile. I had no idea what she might be thinking. I had expected her to say that she was sorry. I thought that she might even beg me to forgive her. It was beginning to look like none of that was going to happen. Dumb blonde. So, what about Brian? I asked him to come over because I thought I might need extra insurance for my computer and stereo equipment. We got to talking and one thing led to another and the next thing I knew he me. That's me as this picture was taken. He'll be here next Thursday about noon, but that's all right because you'll be gone on your trip. You just don't get it, do you, Gail? We're married. That's supposed to mean something. The only one you're supposed to be is me, damn it. But I do it with you, Paul. I you every chance I get. We do it every day. But you aren't here on Thursdays. You're a couple of 100 miles away, for all night. I only want to have a little fun. Why should you care if you aren't here? I didn't have a clue as to what to say or do next. She wasn't denying a damn thing, and worse yet, all she's done is tell me how much fun it is. For lack of not knowing what else to do, I laid the next 3 pictures out. Would you mind explaining what it is that's so special about Craig? Please? I know this is very difficult for you. Take your time. I wouldn't want you to have a nervous breakdown or something. Oh, you're being silly again. Craig was standing behind me at the range, and he was showing me the proper way to point my pistol. I could feel him pushing it against me. I felt so sorry for him. I mean, it was kind of my fault. If I hadn't asked him to help me, he wouldn't have gotten in that condition. I couldn't leave him to suffer like that, so we went into his office, and I took care of his problem. He was so grateful, and he wanted to return my favor, so I brought him home with me. I thought you liked Craig. You're always joking with him and all. That may be, but I certainly don't want him my wife. He should be home with his own wife. Oh, honey. He's so young and inexperienced. He's only been married for a few months. Someone needs to teach him so that he can be a better to his wife. I'm just doing him a favor. He's going to bring his wife with him next time so that I can teach the 2 of them together. I don't know anything about it with another girl. Is there some book at the library that I can check out and read? Yes, it's in the infidelity section. The title is How to F Up Your Marriage Without Really Trying, and then you should read Divorce, the final option, next. Oh, you're being silly again. Hey, I'm thirsty, how about a beer? She bounced out of her chair, she handed me my beer and sat back down asking, got any more good pictures? She reached across the table, grabbed the envelope, and turned it upside down. The last 3 pictures fell out face down. She turned the top one over and, oh my. This is Dan and me. He's the best. Oh boy. This is a good one, she said as she turned the next picture over. You know, once I taught him how to use it, he could send me all of the way to heaven. What's this last picture? Wow! Got any more pictures? Her eyes were blazing. Her left elbow was on the table and she was circling. Holy s, Gail. You're playing, aren't you? I can't help it, Paul. All of these pictures are so good. You haven't touched me for over 4 weeks. Take me to bed, please. I couldn't believe this dumb bee. I've accused her of cheating on me and told her that divorce was on the horizon, and she wants to get off. Well, F this. Please, honey, please. I love you, only you. It was only S with them, honey. It's you that I love. Let's go to bed. I promise I'll make you feel good. To hell with you, Gail. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Go use one of your. Hell, you can use M all at once for all I care. I can't, they're all worn out. They won't work anymore. I'm finishing. She did. What in the hell was wrong with this bee? Was nymphomania a disease that a woman could catch? Was she mentally off of her rocker? I'm out of here, you dumb bee. You're nothing but AS and AW. I want nothing more to do with you. I got up and started for the door. Oh, honey. Please, honey. I love you, Paul. I just walked right on out the door. I didn't even bother to take the pictures with me. Max had everything I needed. My friend that owned the bar lived on the floor above it, and I would stay there tonight. Gail could have the whole damn house to herself. I would have her out on the street tomorrow. Dumb F blonde.